There is a book called Accelerando. I learned about it in the podcast Moonshots. It's a good podcast with Peter Diamandis and his Moonshot mates. It's really good, except they use ableist language on a semi-regular basis, but otherwise it's pretty good. Moonshots. And I learned about the book Accelerando, and honestly, I'm probably not going to read it, but I did. And I talked with ChatGPT about the book. Having a background in psychology and in Sazian ethics, and being generally oriented towards humanism and ethical humanism, at least based on the synopsis of Accelerando by ChatGPT, presuming it's accurate, and it probably is, Accelerando seems to present a very dehumanizing future. According to ChatGPT, and no, I will probably not actually read the full book. According to ChatGPT, the book sort of has three phases or three areas it presents, sort of maybe before, during, and after the acceleration, Accelerando. The part that is most concerning is what is, according to ChatGPT, presented as sort of inevitable or the likely outcome of the AI exponential singularity. And quite frankly, from ChatGPT's synopsis, it is quite seemingly very dehumanizing and problematic. With that said, I've heard the gentleman on Moonshots speak of Accelerando as a book worth reading. And at least based on what they said, it almost seemed like this is a cool book. What's happening is like gonna happen or is great or is good. Like it seemed almost like they talk about it as like desirable or inevitable. That was my general impression, and I've listened to Moonshots quite a bit the last month or two. It's a great podcast overall. So, the idea that sort of we're gonna have humanity be sidelined or secondary, or computers will take over, or humans will have a diminished role in the universe. Again, if ChatGPT is wrong, please let me know. This is my takeaway based on my discussions with ChatGPT about the book and what it sort of describes and the general plot. And I'm not saying all the details that ChatGPT described because, well, quite frankly, it was a lot of detail and quite frankly, a lot of information. And I remember a lot of it, but I couldn't necessarily articulate a lot of it in a clear, concise, accurate way. But my general impression stands, again, unless ChatGPT was entirely wrong about the sort of general plot and synopsis of the book, and I think it's unlikely that ChatGPT was significantly wrong. But again, if it is, let me know. Maybe I should ask Grok also. So if you think acceleration and tech and AI is good for the sake of technological progress only, and if you do not fully take into account the potential unintended consequences of that as it relates to humanization and humanism versus dehumanization and technological dystopia, well, it's worth considering. You really should. And if you don't understand the full implications of that, that may become increasingly problematic over the next months and years, especially if you're someone with some influence or if you work in the AI or tech space, like you really need to be considering this stuff. And if you're not, you're probably doing yourself and humanity a great disservice in the medium to long-term future. So we need to make sure AI and technological progress of exponential technologies benefits humanity, that helps us maintain and express and grow our humanity and is in line with humanistic values. And if, we think it's good to somehow merge with machines and become less human and, replace our whole body slowly with artificial neurons or whatever else. I'm not saying Accelerando is necessarily advocating for that specifically, but in general, if we just want to upload our minds and think somehow a human is going to then exist in silicon when really it's just maybe a simulation, you are you. And, I believe humans have a soul, and I'm not sure if Accelerando takes that into account. Positivism, I can't say it, but I can spell it. Positivism. I'm going to leave that in just because I think it's funny. Positism. the idea that like everything physical has a physical explanation, or everything even non-physical has a physical explanation, I think it's a really problematic dogma, and it's taken a page right out of psychiatry. Like I've heard Alex on Moonshots talk about like, oh, if you could just, he asked like maybe Peter Diamandis or one of them like a hypothetical question. Maybe, no, I think he might have asked Ray Kurzweil a hypothetical question. If you could just have AI regulate your dopamine, would you do that? I think that's a horribly ignorant question. It's a tragically ignorant question because Alex apparently does not understand the unintended consequences of psychiatry and psychiatrized medicine. So yeah, so Alex, if you're watching this, or anybody who likes moonshots or heard that question from Alex, like study the ideas with psychiatrist Thomas Szasz, read the book Anatomy of an Epidemic by Robert Whitaker. And yeah, this is getting a little bit off topic, but whatever. Read the book Schizophrenia, the Sacred Symbol of Psychiatry by psychiatrist Thomas Szasz. Read the book The Theology of Medicine by psychiatrist Thomas Szasz. I mean, this video is about a book, so I might as well tell you some books and point you in the right direction if you want to understand the potential unintended consequences if we let AI or other systems totally take over our human experience. Psychiatry is quackery, and if we let AI get involved in that, it's going to be really, really horrible. So I don't know if Accelerando actually talked about that specifically, but based on what ChatGPT said, it seems like it may likely venture into that territory either implicitly or explicitly. But regardless, some of the stuff that was in the sort of the third future, where I think we're sort of in the middle stage right now, we're in Accelerando, and then where it talks about more of the future, like, well, that's the future, but we're sort of on the cusp of the singularity, so to speak. So anyway, just hopefully it won't have a bunch of problems. But yeah, if you read Accelerando, well, one, feel free to give me a better synopsis if you want to do it in a constructive way, or call out relevant parts. But the idea that humanity might become secondary, or that we may not have full control over our futures as humans and our humanity, like you really need to understand the unintended consequences of that, and of just progress and exponential technological growth for the sake of acceleration and technological advancement without considering the full effects of humanization versus dehumanization and our humanity and ethics and a holistic view of ethics, which, and this is actually an aside also. So Elon Musk talks about Grok and being maximally truth-seeking. Read the book Psychiatry, The Science of Lies by psychiatrist Thomas Szasz. Szasz is S-Z-A-S-Z. For example, if Grok tries to be maximally truth-seeking but somehow still believes in psychiatry, well, it's going to fail at being truth-seeking because, within medicine, psychiatry is the science of lies, and there are some very fundamentally dishonest things in psychiatry which may intersect with AI sooner than is ideal. They already talk about AI counselors, and AI might start prescribing drugs or psychiatric drugs, and if Grok doesn't get a handle on this, it's going to be a mess. Same thing. So anyway, this is about Accelerando. I'm getting a little off topic here, but yeah, the book, maybe I'll listen to the audiobook eventually, but the fact that they're praising it on moonshots, they seem to be praising it on moonshots, and they don't seem to be necessarily calling out at least what ChatGPT describes as some very potentially problematic things that people who are accelerationists might think is, either inevitable or good. I think it's a real problem. So anyway, I'll end it there. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, watch my other videos. Limitless peace.